Eric, are you an ice cream in a cone guy, or are you an ice cream in a cup guy?
I might be cheating with this answer, but I'm both. Put the cone, shape it in a cup, and then put it in the cup. So you get the best of both worlds. Because the cone gives flavor and gives texture, right? You get that waffly sort of malted back note with a lot of crunch. And then the cup just keeps everything nice and neat and organized, right? Without the cup, then you just have a puddle of just like anglaise all over you. And honestly, not the sexiest thing. But when you have all of them together, then you have decency and flavor and texture. And that's where I'm at. So give me both.
I'm a cup guy. I get stressed out when I have a cone because usually it's outside and it's hot. And when it starts dripping, I like freak out and I feel like I'm rushing eating my ice cream. Yeah. So I don't like the cone. It, like as a kid, because you're a kid and it's messy and it's fun and it's kind of classic Americana. I don't. Right. I've grown out of the cone stage. But what you're describing,
where's your
are you still using a spoon or are you using the cone as the spoon?
Nah, man. Well, one, you're losing your patriotism right now because what do you mean? It's classic Americana when you have ice cream. It's summertime. Like, what are we doing? No, dude, you got to get both, man. And I feel like ice cream parlors are getting hip to the fact that folks want a little bit of both. Because I agree, you don't want to like have a mess all over your, your summertime outfit. But then also, you got to have the cone, bro. You got to have the cone in there.
Okay, fine. We're on your side again. Once again, you've yeah. swayed me with your cone plus cup take, even though you kind of broke the rules. And we're going to talk about breaking the rules on this episode of Top Chef. This is Pack Your Knives. I'm Tom Haberstroh.
And I'm Eric Ejapong.
And we are going to talk about episode 3, Best Served Cold. We've got a Jamaican patty, quickfire, and then a hockey-themed elimination challenge. But really, the takeaway here is that Katiana is a beast.
She is. Yeah. She is a monster, actually. It's a very rare feat to take over an entire episode of Top Chef. It doesn't happen often when a chef wins both the quick fire and the elimination, all within the 40 minutes allotted in the show's time. But she did it. And you know what's even more impressive? She did it so early in the game. Usually you'll see this kind of like towards the end. We saw Chef Melissa do it in the last All-Stars, or the previous All-Stars. But it's rare when you still have 10 to 12 people around you and you still above, like head and shoulders above water, are still number one the entire day. Now you have a massive target on your back. But it's all good. She got like an extra $15K, so it's not bad.
$15K. Yeah, she wins $10,000 for the quick fire, the Jamaican patty quick fire, and then she wins with her cold soba noodle dish, which I'm telling you, man, I hated the licorice flavor for her. I thought that she was cooked. I thought she was done. So the level of difficulty too, that Katiana was able to turn that into a winning dish. And you could see that she was struggling with it and trying to get more flavor out of it. And I'm like, no more flavor of licorice. It makes me gag. Please, no, do not draw it out. But she hit the right balance. And look, she got the quickfire win in the very first episode. She was the middle in the elimination challenge in the first episode, middle in the second episode. So she won the quickfire in this one and then won this one, which means she's 6 for 6 and not finishing in the bottom. 6 for 6.
She's 6 for 6. It's impressive. And then you go into the next round with the confidence of the immunity right behind you. So you can kind of like cook freely. You know, you're in this is a good place to have some nice sort of momentum, a good swag to you as well. But then also, I got to be honest, everyone's gunning for you. Everyone sort of has you in their peripheral. Everyone's looking at you sort of with a side eye, knowing that you are sort of, again, head and shoulders above everyone else right now. And I love the fact that she just came in really, really subtle, nothing too crazy. And then now she's really starting to like take lead in the pack of a lot of talented chefs. I got to be honest, there was some great cooking this episode.
Yeah, I'm shedding a tear for Anya here. I remember last week when you were like, "Oh, I want to trade for her," and thank God you didn't trade for her because she got sent home right after that. So,
right as soon after that, dude. It happens like that, man. I mean, it's the drop of a hat, dude. Like we can praise a chef one episode and then literally see that chef go home with just a and dude, out of all of the challenges too, I'm thinking Anya is going to really be the one to take over this episode, coming from Russia, cold sort of flavors and techniques and profiles and stuff that she's used to. She talked about that pine needle on glaze so like romantically, and I was already bought in. And man, I just wish it would have came together for her. But it's a cold world. All pun intended.
It is that is good. Cold world. Let's start from the beginning here, because the open, we see that Shuai is missing his family. I get a little nervous about whenever they do these little, vignettes showing someone missing their family. But Shuai, one of my favorites on this episode, or in this season, he was fine. He was in the top 3 in the quick fire, which was make a Jamaican patty, which there's a Jamaican diaspora in Toronto, a big immigration in Toronto. I think there's over 200,000 Jamaicans in Toronto. And so they bring in Dwight Smith, who's a private chef and recipe developer, Toronto guy, who has a huge following on Instagram. I was not familiar with his game. And then I checked him out on Instagram, and he's got like almost 1 million followers there. So I'm not a Jamaican patty expert, but what I can tell you is that in Miami, Kevin and I used to eat it all the time. And there's a lot of great Jamaican patties in Miami. So talk to me about Jamaican patties and your thoughts on this being a quick fire.
Well, unlike you, my friend, I consider myself a Jamaican patty connoisseur. I love a good patty. Give me a flaky crust. I like a combination of butter, maybe a little lard. I like the turmeric. I like the curry. I like the filling. Give me some spicy. Man, coming from New York City, one thing before I get into it, I was a little upset about hearing our lovely host, Kristen, talk about a snack. And I guess to some people it could be, but to the folks back in New York, Flatbush, Bronx, Gun Hill Road, like that's a full meal. Get some cocoa bread, put that in between a beautiful warm slice of cocoa bread. And for me, man, that was the takeaway. That was the after school meal. A beef patty, and maybe a ting or some ginger beer. Oh man, I can literally take the train right back home and have that experience and feel like, nostalgia all over again. So I was really excited to see that beef patty challenge. So appropriate, especially for, how you called it, an amazing diaspora of Jamaican and West Indies and Caribbean folks in Toronto, in the greater metropolitan area in Canada's sort of beautiful landscape of so many different cultures, man. But when it comes to like Caribbean and Jamaican food specifically, bro, it's some of the best places in the world to eat. And I loved it, man. I felt right at home. I was really, really excited for the challenge.
All right. So you have any filling you want to put in a patty. Easy. What are you going with here?
Give me spicy chicken or spicy beef, depending on the day. Spicy chicken, spicy beef. I can go a callaloo, no doubt. If like a meatless Monday, I can do something like that. But for the most part, man, the running joke is there's always a Sharon. You have patty in the back? There's always one Sharon every beef patty. I don't know, no matter where you work, there's a Sharon that works at a beef patty parlor. And bro, like
it's amazing.
You get that, and again, it's nice and warm. It's flaky. It's right on time. I freaking love beef patties.
All right. So there's a little twist here, and I wasn't a huge fan of this twist because it wasn't really a true quick fire. It wasn't 30 minutes. It was a 15-minute make your dough, then have lunch, then come back and do a quick fire. So it was kind of like an expanded quick fire. And I'm wondering, you as someone who's done food TV all the time, would this have been better as an elimination challenge? Because you were deeply offended by the characterization that it could be a snack, but is it an entree enough that it could be an elimination challenge? Because obviously you want to do a Jamaican patty episode in Top Chef Canada, Destination Canada. So it presents some issues with timing and making the dough and letting it settle and all this. So what were your thoughts on having this as a quickfire versus an elimination challenge?
You know what, man? That's a really good question, because in the format of the show, it's a quick fire. So it kind of sort of like it goes against the grain of what a quick fire is. But then also, I think about waiting for a beef patty. It usually takes 30 minutes and then a break and then like another 30 minutes to get the beef patty going from Brooklyn or in the Bronx, New York. So it felt like right at home, man. I got to be honest. Truthfully, I felt like they needed a little bit more time, because when you really want to do a beef patty well, from my experience, from talking to chefs like Chef Andre Flores, and amazing other chefs from the island, bro, you gotta let that dough rest. You almost want to freeze the patty right before you fry it or bake it. It gives structure, right? You want to let that dough really, really come together. Let all those sort of gluten sort of rest. Let the butter and everything else laminate. Freeze the dough, however you're gonna, fill it. We'll fill it and then freeze it and then drop it in the fryer. Then you get the perfect shape, you get the perfect texture, you get the perfect sort of like crust to filling ratio. So I understand why they gave the chefs a little bit of time. I'm actually curious, because they never mentioned, at least if I missed it, how much time in between for lunch did they have, right? And then coming back.
I didn't get that either.
And finishing up finishing up the challenge. So it made sense. But still, we saw chefs that actually needed more time. Chef Kat, she was in the weeds from really from the get-go. So clearly it shows, if you're not starting your beef patty off right, you're not going to finish it off right neither.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Kat has had some serious time management issues. A lot of issues that, She did really well in the elimination challenge last episode. So I can't say that she's on the struggle bus every time, but it does seem like she's on the struggle bus quite a bit in Top Chef so far. And Cesar also screwing up his, he was trying to get the ratio right, and Cesar wasn't getting it. Yeah. And I really wanted him to do well, because I'm a big lamb guy. I'm Greek, so I love lamb, the lamb fat powdered sugar that he was putting together. But the dough issues that you're seeing, was that from the get-go, or was that because of the filling, you're thinking?
It's typically, it really showed there was maybe like 3 or 4 chefs that knew that this beef patty challenge was coming in, because they worked on their dough. We talked about Schwei last week, working on his poutine and doing it right before the episode, or at least the Destination Canada started. But same thing with like Corwin, coming from Jamaican background, either seen it a bunch of times, cooked it a bunch of times, or really practiced it a bunch of times. But with chefs like Cesar and Kat, they didn't work on their dough game, and that's I gotta say, I gotta knock a couple of points off, even from my mind, Cesar. Number one, why are there strawberries on your the patty? I didn't get that. I didn't understand the direction. Yeah. Is it sweet savory? Is it sweet? Is it a hand bite? I didn't know. So I was really sort of thrown off with that. But yeah, man, it starts from the beginning, like all great ends of services. If you're not prepping strong, you're not finishing strong. And that starts with elimination challenges. That starts with quick fires. That starts in a restaurant. You got to prep strong. And if that dough isn't, again, relaxed, it's layered. You almost have to sort of like a croissant, layer the dough with the butter or the lard or whatever fat you're using, allow it to rest, sheet it out, fold it, add your filling, fold it, and then I'm saying all this like it's not a quick fire, but then it is. So you got to be able to do all those steps, and clearly when you're not starting off strong, you're going to finish really weak, and that's what happened with both Kat and Cesar.
All right, let's talk about Massimo. Okay, Massimo, my man. Grinding your oxtail. Big red flag here. You know why no one's ever ground oxtail like that? It's because it's super tough. It's super fatty, and you got to cook it down and braise it and put it in a stew or something like that. Because you could just see as he's fighting this grinder that you're like, dude, this is going to end poorly for you. Eric, was this do you get invited to the cookout if you grind oxtail?
I was going to say, not even the ancestors, the folks that are still alive are rolling in their graves. Like, bro, what are you doing, man? Like, grinding oxtail. You know how much that costs? You know what a box, like a pound of oxtail costs? And you're over here just grinding it away. There's only one tail per ox, bro. There's only one tail. So you got to be able to like really take it and love on it, man. And grinding it is not the way you want to go. I understand oxtail. You hear it; it goes well with the patty. Jamaican culture, oxtails are like king. It's more coveted than caviar. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
oxtails are delicious. So,
But you got
I
to
don't know
cook
if
it
he's
down, right? Like there's no, can you cook oxtail quickly is my question.
there's pressure cookers all throughout the kitchen. So there's ways to get out of that. And you can make it happen, especially with a really nice sort of broth. You can create a base and really get it done and get some sort of like tenderness from it. But that mechanical way of sort of grinding it down like it was a chuck flap or, something, dude, it was just the wrong method for the wrong protein for the wrong dish. And as soon as I saw that sort of like trajectory of where he was going, I'm like, bro, it's not going to work. So I assumed that it was going to taste or at least eat like muddledness, because also you got to remember there's tons and tons and tons and tons of fat all throughout the oxtail,
Yes.
whether it's outside, whether it's subcutaneous, like you got to be able to separate the two. And if you're not, then now you're cooking with like a gelatinous, over processed piece of beautiful protein, not the way to handle it. Massimo, you should know better. He's not coming to my cookout, but I mean, whatever.
Yeah, he's I think if he was in an elimination challenge with that, I think he would be sent home. I know the dough fell apart for Kat and Cesar, but he also didn't provide a sauce. And so what are your thoughts on this? A few chefs didn't have a sauce with their beef patty, with their patty. What are your thoughts on serving a patty without a sauce? Because Massimo not only did the oxtail, but he didn't kind of give that texture or any sort of dipping accessory next to his dish.
Totally. Not completely necessary, but it was required for the challenge. Like again, many of patties I've eaten throughout my life and my day, I've had them with sauce, without sauce, and I'm just a happy camper regardless. So the fact that they needed to add it into their dish, and the fact that he didn't, I don't know if it was a time management thing. I don't know if he just thought it would just be flavorful enough. But give me some pepper sauce, man, a Scotch bonnet, just a quick hot sauce. I love the play on I think it was Shuai, who made some sort of like, help me if you have it. Down.
The Shuai did the scallion pancake with chicken curry and curry buttermilk sauce.
The curry buttermilk, yes, there you go. That sounded really, really good. So yeah, I gotta say, man, Massimo is in the most endearing ways, probably one of my favorite chefs to watch this season. Yes. He's funny, he's hilarious, he's always quick with the joke, man, and he seems like he's sort of the comic relief that the chefs need, especially during really tense moments. But I was disappointed. I gotta be honest, man. I love Massimo, but he wasn't showing out for his home country.
Yeah, he looked when he presented the dish. I remember Dwight asking like pure oxtail, like what? And he's like, yeah. And he kind of knew it. And so they weren't a huge fan. So running through the dishes real quick, I mentioned Schweiz. Yeah. Anya did a pure jok with ground beef and ajika spice, kind of a meat pie. They really enjoyed that. Kat had the curried shrimp and banana. Obviously the dough didn't come together, wanted more time with the dough. Shrimp and banana, I wasn't loving that combination either. When she explained it, I was like, for me, that's not hitting right. But does feel a little Caribbean. Massimo, Zubair. Okay, Zubair had the saltfish Vaduvan patty with green Thai chili, piquillo pepper as well. Man, Katiana is the favorite for me, but Zubair is really close. He's incredible. He's been doing a lot of great food, and he finished in the top 3 on this one too. And the judges appreciated the saltfish as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to have a little saltfish, which is really impressive because you got to soak it. I don't know how it was prepared for the chefs, but like to get that beautiful saltfish back note in a patty, I'm actually intrigued and I want to do that myself. Like that, Zubair has been cooking his butt off the past couple episodes.
Yeah. And Corwin, I know he's the hometown favorite here, being Jamaican. So what are your thoughts on the garam masala with curry chickpeas? Is that a vegan dish? Is that a vegan patty there?
You know what? The curry chickpeas is another favorite in the patty universe when it comes to the lexicon or the hierarchy of like patties. I can do a curry
Mm-hmm.
chickpea patty for sure. I've definitely had a couple. I like it. I'm not mad at that direction. It's sort of zagging where everyone's zigging, probably going like
Mm-hmm.
animal protein, right? So you're really trying to stand out right there. And I'm pretty sure he was confident in his patty. The fact that he even was confident enough to go in the pizza oven, that was like give it a little smoke, get a little char, get a different profile. So I really respect the direction that Corin was going. And it seemed like everyone, kind of like when you're cheating on a test back at school and everyone's sort of like looking at your station or looking at the other desk, right? I felt like everyone was doing that for Corbin, just making sure that they were doing exactly what
Yeah.
he's doing so they could stay on par. So he was definitely a teacher, or at least running the race when it came to prep for the patties. But the dish sounded delicious. It was really, really good.
What is sui? Henry did a feng nick and turmeric patty with char sui mushroom. So SIU, I want to say it is. I don't know what that is.
Got it. Yeah, me neither. That one was that was new to me. So it's hard to even say how it sounded. It was intriguing.
Char sui, yeah. In context of Chinese cuisine, refers to a few dishes, most notably Cantonese barbecue pork and crisp pork belly, both popular Cantonese dishes. So it's literally means fork roasted, sui being burn or roasted, and cha being fork, both noun and verb. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I see it.
Sure.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
I'm in there.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm digging
I can
it.
do that.
So he did that. And then Tristan coming after your heart with an after school beef patty with ketchup vinaigrette. Kind of felt like he was going to be in the top when he described this dish because it felt like a home game for him. So what are your thoughts on that one, Tristan's?
I mean, the romance and sort of storytelling behind it, I was right there with them because me and my boys right after school go over to the local patty shop. Shout out to Golden Crust. People slack on Golden Crust. Golden Crust is delicious, I gotta say. But yeah, going to Golden Crust, getting that beef patty with the cocoa bread, that was me all day. But to me, was it a tart or was it a patty? It looked like an open-faced tart. Am I correct?
Yeah,
it didn't really give patty
thing.
vibes. Yeah, it didn't really give me patty vibes. The story was better than the actual dish itself, it seemed like. But I mean, listen, Tristan knows how to cook. So I was really, really sold on the dish and the flavor profile for that.
Paula continues to, not really wow the judges. She had the spiced lamb with goat cheese, with the Ecuadorian hot sauce. Cesar, we talked about that. The lamb tartare, which a toaster with the turmeric dough issue that he had, bacon and strawberry, interesting, confusing also. Lana did the Krabby Patty with Cajun and tomato, which also, I think she's a sleeping dragon here. I think she's going to be or sleeping tiger. I don't know, crouching tiger, sleeping dragon.
There you go.
And Vinny chopped cheese patty. Okay. Trip to New York.
Back to New York. Listen, Vinny, I got to say, I was sold. The patty looked delicious. But it felt like it lacked a depth of flavor that they were really, really looking for. I love the direction. A chopped cheese, again, New York City, you sort of colliding two different worlds right there. New York has probably next to Canada and Toronto, one of the other biggest sort of like populations of Jamaicans in West Indies outside of Jamaica and West Indies. So I thought it was a great sort of play on the dish, man. I thought it would do really, really well, but it seemed like it was safe enough.
Yeah, the whole bottle of hot sauce was also a choice. Or he's going for it, and I don't know why, but the whole lining with the mustard and the cheese, I think he did. I didn't like that. It kind of felt, I don't know, gimmicky? It felt like a gimmicky hot doggy, and he's kind of has this thing where he did the apple earlier, and it just seems like he's trying to make a statement with some of these things where the presentation
he lays the presentation on really thick. And it shows with the apple. It shows later on with the dish that he made with the, was it strawberry shortcake and which I thought was brilliant, but, his plating style, tells more of a story than the actual story does. Does that make sense? Like you don't have to sort of explain it all the way through the plate.
A little extra.
Yeah, well, it's a little extra. It's a little extra. So I thought it was it sounded delicious, but I thought the plate up was a little bit too much.
Okay, so you were happy with the overall Patty episode, like the quick fire. They presented themselves well.
I gotta say, shout out to the producers one more time with Top Chef and these themes thus far in Destination Canada. They've been crushing it and well represented. I think these are one of the moments where you really have to sort of do some deep digging and understand the culture, the lifestyle, the sort of beat of Canada and its various cities and the people that sort of occupy it, and especially the food like lexicon and the food sort of history that goes throughout the country. So they've been crushing it right now. They would be remiss without doing some sort of Patty, challenge. And I'm so glad it happened so early on, so we can see so many different chefs and their takes on a classic.
Question for you. Henry's hammering the butter. I don't know what that was. What was that all about, where he was trying to hammer the butter? Is that a matter of like he's trying to soften the butter before it goes into the patty, like or the dough? Is that like, oh, I've only got 15 minutes to make this dough. I'm going to hammer this.
Yeah. Tell me, was the butter in the dough? I don't remember specifically.
I don't know, but he took the whole sticks of butter and he just was taking the roller and just hammering the butter. And I hadn't seen that technique before on Top Chef. So I guess that's a time crunch thing.
It's a time crunch thing, but it's also sort of mimicking what a sheeter would do. And that's sort of like layering that's sort of going into the layer of like a croissant, right? Where you have a sheeter, you take the butter and you try to make it as thin as possible. So then when you laminate it on top of the dough, it's an easy fold. You can kind of fold it in 3s and 4s and 5s and whatever the case is, and then roll it out again. So it might've been a time thing, but also I feel like it's a pretty cool technical thing. It probably wasn't as graceful and probably sounded really loud. Not as loud as Massimo though, and cracking. Jesus, man, that guy is bull in a china shop. But I think he did a great job with sort of just trying to get the butter to yield to what he wants it to do in that lamination process. You need a laminated dough. It needs to be flaky. It can't be sort of like one note. Just like all sort of great West Indian pastries. They're flaky, they're delicious. I think of roti, I think of para, I think of so many other bus-up shots, like so many other great West Indies and Caribbean sort of pastries that are layered and laminated. I can see the method to the madness. Yeah, I see it.
So in the top 3, you had Katiana winning, flavorful. It was nice. It was light. Zubair, they really liked that one. And the saltfish, as you mentioned, really tough thing to pull off. And Shuai, with the scallion pancake, he does his own kind of twist. They described it as unbelievable. They really enjoyed that. But Katiana wins. And then they go into the the elimination challenge, which is, hey, we got sports here. We got hockey. It's the hockey elimination challenge. Which obviously with Canada, the Habs, a lot of people call me from back home. They call me Habs. And so always know about that and always get confused when Sports Center or whatever it is saying Habs on the television. I'm like, well, are they talking to me? There's a guest judge here, Natalie Spooner, who's an Olympic medalist and as Massimo says, a badass on the ice. I really like this challenge. It was cool to have the gimmick of the ice rink where they're serving on the ice. That was interesting. They said, I've never seen, as Gail's walking in, she's like, I've never seen an ice rink in a kitchen before. The thing that I wasn't really on board with, I was a little confused by the hockey terms, and you had to stand behind a hockey term, and then it would reveal. I understand why they had to kind of get hockey terms into the episode, because how do you do a hockey themed food challenge, cooking challenge? But the fact that the chefs didn't know what the term meant or how it was going to be translated into the ingredient or the protein or what have you, it left me a little kind of flat. It was trying to
Yeah.
understand what is the puck, what is an assist going to be, what is a game ending in 0. And some of them are reaches, some of them made sense to me, but the fact that it was uneven too, where like there was like 4 in one ingredient and then just 1 for another ingredient. I don't know how I would have executed it better. This is one of those things where you say, I didn't like that thing. And someone says, yeah, well, how would you solve that problem? And you're like, I don't really have a great solve. I don't want to be that annoying, but the hockey term and then the what is it called? A cloche removing. Yep. I don't know. I was a little confused by that. What are your thoughts on the, biscuit, apple, muffin, egg, the hockey terms being twisted into there to have a hockey themed challenge?
You know what? I as much as I give props to the team at Top Chef for these creative challenges, I feel like some of them, including last week's when Kristen came in, popped up, in the parking garage. Have been somewhat incomplete or sort of left to be desired. I agree. I think it was. I knew maybe like 1 or 2 of these terms. But the rest were really, really difficult to sort of decipher, especially if you don't know what's under the cloche. So you're going into an elimination challenge, and it's not a quick fire. These are, you win or you go home. And the fact that these chefs are such at a disadvantage, not knowing exactly what they're going to be using or the technique or the style, I think it was a little bit of a setup. Yeah, it was a little bit of a setup. It was random, it was really, really random. So, dude, I don't even know which one I would have picked because, again, I'm not even sure these terms and how they affect the game. I felt like a lot of it was sort of like another sports analogy, like insider baseball. Like you got to play hockey to really know what a grapefruit is or muffins are, like stuff like that. So, but I guess that's the point of being in Canada. Most of the folks out there play the sport and play it well, and to them, as these crazy Yankees, they're like, what do you mean you don't know what that is? Like, come on, get it together. So I can imagine folks in Canada be like, that's easy. Of course. Why didn't you know that? And then us sounding like, the common American, like, what do you mean? Like, so I don't know.
Maybe it was cool. The only one I thought that they could decipher was the egg, the game ending in 0. And Tristan was like goose egg, right? And they were like, you got it. And it's an egg. So I think that one made sense. I just felt so bad for Katiana and Cesar that they got licorice, where it's like tape wrapped around the end of a stick, and they go with that one, and it ends up being licorice. Now, I'm Greek, so like the ouzo has this licorice taste to it. Sambuca has this licorice taste to it. As we talked about last week, I can't stand black jelly beans or the licorice jelly beans, beans on Easter. But the others were grapefruit, like you mentioned, muffin, a shot that should have been stopped is a muffin. An assist is an apple. A puck was biscuit. And then a shot that hangs around the net for a second was peanut butter. So those were the ingredients. So you're saying you don't know what hockey term you would have stood behind, but in terms of those ingredients, peanut butter, biscuit, apple, muffin, egg, grapefruit, and licorice, give me one that you'd be most excited to work with on this ice challenge, and one that you were like, man, I really hope I wouldn't have to cook with that.
I was really intrigued by what the chefs would do with both the grapefruit and the peanut butter, especially making a cold dish, right? Like, I think you can do some really creative stuff with those 2 specific ingredients. They lend themselves to cold when I think about it. Grapefruit is a citrus that grows, in the cooler months. So you kind of like cook what grows with it. And I think that's something really, really like intriguing. It's a beautiful fruit. It's a great sort of background singer that can be, a Beyonce when you want it to be. So I really enjoy grapefruit. The peanut butter, another one, great ingredient to work with, hot or cold, but specifically cold because of all that sort of texture that it gives and great flavor profile. Like, you're eating peanut butter immediately. So I like those. I would have stayed away from the muffin and licorice. The muffin is tough. Like, what do you do with that? It's already in full form. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's already cooked. Yeah. So how do you like further manipulate that? And then the licorice, I'm with you, man. I don't hate it as much as you do. I don't like it. But there's great sort of like ingredients. I saw fennel being used. We saw the licorice. liqueur being used. So there's other things that you can kind of pull that are not as astringent as, licorice itself, right? Or, black jelly beans or anything like that. So it's less on the sort of egregious totem pole for me, but number one would have been muffins. Like, keep me away from that. And if I picked that and I had no idea, I'd be pissed, especially like looking left and right and see what the other chefs had picked up, man. I would have been upset. Yeah.
Yeah. Egg, right? Like you can do a lot of different stuff with egg. You can do a lot of stuff with apple and grapefruit for a cold dish. Mm-hmm. And I guess I should have mentioned this. The challenge was you have to present a cold dish, and best served cold, the episode title. It's tougher to do that when you have a muffin, because it's already cooked, like you said, and some things just lend itself better to a cold dish than those two things that are a pastry that's already been cooked. But when you see the breakdowns here, I thought that some, like Corwin, that was restaurant quality. The apple dish that he did was exactly. He didn't overthink it. He did an aguachile scallop with apple ponzu with gel, and like I feel like crudo or aguachile or a ceviche. It's very hard to screw that up on Top Chef, and he did an excellent execution.
I totally agree. I think Kerwin's this mindset towards the dish and the ingredient was exactly how I would have played it. It's almost low-hanging fruit, no pun intended. Like apple, cold, ceviche, crudo. Like you're given these amazing sort of like parameters to work with, and all those things work well with each other. So like, why don't try to reinvent the wheel? Do exactly what the challenge says and do it to your best ability. And I thought he made a beautiful looking dish, one of the best dishes we've seen, at least I've seen thus far in season 22. And the flavor profile was fantastic. It's tart, it's sweet. You have the beautiful sort of oceanic back note and buttery back note with the scallop, raw preparation. Really, really, really beautiful dish. Well played. I thought Corin's dish was. I think it could have won ultimately, but it was a really, really close race. Yeah.
All right. So Zubair with the muffin. Sorry, I keep saying Zubair. It's Zubair, I believe. He did the muffin where
you're going more Eurocentric with the Zubair.
I know. I don't know why I'm throwing an extra syllable in there. So he has immunity, Eric. So like he's doing a very complicated or sophisticated, I would say, dish with this king salmon crudo with fennel, jalapeno, achar, lemongrass, gel, a lot of stuff going on here and very little biscuit. And I kind of felt like Zubair bust that out later. Like that seemed like a really good dish. And he went for it with a very little biscuit, like crumble on top of it, which they mentioned was like, I didn't really get much biscuit there. It seemed like he pulled that out in an immunity challenge when he should have just kept it in his holster. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. I absolutely agree. I think it's one of those things where you have to use the immunity to your advantage. Like, don't pull out the aces right away. You sort of want to keep that close to the chest. But who knows, man? He's been cooking such amazing food. This could be actually one of his his
throwaway.
Yeah, exactly. It could be one of his throwaways. So I'm really excited to see his trajectory throughout the season. But when you cook with immunity, you sort of cook with the not carefree, but it's a little bit of you're not as tense as everyone else. So I would have loved to see a little bit more biscuit in his dish, but the overall dish itself sounded complex. It sounded nuanced. It sounded delicious. But I agree, man. It's something that probably would have been busted out later on when it's maybe half the amount of chefs or even less.
All right, let's talk about Anya and Massimo. They both had what I thought was just a lot going on. Their cook was not correct. They didn't seem to execute. Who do you want to start talking about here, Massimo or Anya? I'll give you the chef's choice here.
Let's go with Massimo here. Yeah, Massimo, man. Unlike Katiana's sort of double Vic, Massimo had two really just poor performances this episode where he the biscuit on biscuit, or excuse me, the muffin on muffin on muffin on muffin. It's a great it's a great sort of concept, but after a while it can be gimmicky, right? And I understand you want to sort of like hammer home the flavor profile and really double up on the gameplay. But bro, like ease up. And then when he dropped his butter, it seemed like he's just, again, a bull in a china shop. I think he goes a little bit too fast for himself and his brain. His hands do, at least. And I've been there. One of my favorite chefs that I've worked under, Chef Mark Forgione, shout out to Mark, told me, and it's advice that I tell other chefs, and I continuously tell myself as well, even in the kitchen, outside the kitchen, slow the hell down. When you slow down, even by like 3 paces, you actually end up working faster. Like you see the board, you see the you get like a 30,000 foot view of what you're doing. And you sort of like can go through the motion and the process of the cook a lot better and a lot sounder when you're slowing down. I feel like Massimo's just sort of just self-inflicted wounds by just going way too fast, bro. Like he's, again, a third time, a bull in a china shop, which can help when it comes to like prep and stuff like that. But it can really, really hurt because sometimes you drop food. Sometimes you're creating a ruckus. It felt like there was an earthquake with Zubair's station as well. So, dude, man, I gotta say, man, I was a little disappointed in that, and I thought it was just a little bit too much of the gameplay, a little too much of a shtick. And then with Anya, would go back to the prep, man. Over prepping really kills you, and you have to be able to edit. And it seems like again an idea that she was very, very confident in. The dish sounded. I was already there. I was sold with the sort of description. The pine
sea
needle.
buckhorn and pine needle. I didn't even know what sea buckhorn was. Like I'm like, yo, what is this?
Yeah, it's a really cool fruit berry. That it's such a finite season and amount of time that it grows. So it's really cool when you can get it and pick it. Sort of like the ramps of the berry world, right? And with her again, just speaking so eloquently and already seeing her sort of skill set when it comes to technique and putting these things together, I was really and excited. And I was more so disappointed that it didn't come together, because I think if it did, she really, really, really could have, I don't know, made it top 3, but made some noise, it's just a roll of the dice, man. Some of these challenges can hurt or help you, and it depends on where they are and where they land in the season. But the sea buckthorn, using the pine needles. So I can imagine just like on top of the cold anglaise, which is the very technical part of the challenge, the pine needles gives you sort of like that. You ever had like a winter fresh and inhaled, like a piece of gum? Yeah, it gives you that sort of like cold, sort of mentally sort of flavor profile as well, which I was like, bro, this is brilliant. This is really, really smart cooking. And at least it sounded great, but it seemed like it was just way too much to prep in a short amount of time.
Yeah, a lot of time issues and second guessing where she had the ice cream okay. The first edit, I thought it seemed like she wasn't happy with the ice cream. And then the second round of the ice cream, she was like, I should have gone with the first one. So I was a little confused, if she should have just stayed with the original ice cream. And it was really upsetting to watch this, because with Anya and Massimo in the bottom, I found myself watching Judges Table really feeling like either of those two are going to go home, and they're two of my favorite characters on the show. And that's the tough thing about Top Chef is like, I knew one of them were going to go home, and I didn't want to see them go home. Anya, I feel like she has so much more to give, and we'll see that in Last Chance Kitchen, whether she can come out of Last Chance Kitchen. But the whole mama bear aspect of her, that she really is someone who has, taken like a senior position of this Top Chef cast. And I really wanted her to go far in this competition. And that really hurt to see that and the pine cones of last week, and just coming out with these ingredients that I would not think of when she's going with a cold dish. And being Russian, she's like, I've got this. I've got a lot that I want to do, and maybe just tried to do too much. It seemed like she was all over the place there. She swims in the San Francisco Bay. And I wanted to ask you, are you a cold plunge guy? Like, are you someone who can handle like cold water? I grew up in Connecticut where like I'm able to, like when you go in the water in like June, it is cold. It is not hot in the Long Island Sound. And so I'm wondering, Eric, how are you around like cold water or any sort of that? Do you take cold showers? Have you done a cold plunge before?
No, I don't understand why anybody would do that. I think that's absolutely insane. Like for what? Why would you like submit yourself to something as insane as going
50
below
degree
your body temperature?
Swimming? No,
like,
no.
What's the point? I don't get it. No, I don't get it. I mean, more power to you. You can tell me and I can live vicariously through it, but not me. Not I, said the fox. Put me in something hot. I like warm water. I like hot showers. You know what I mean? Like, no thanks. I'm all good. You know what even gave me more PTSD, aside from the fact that she said that she swims in the San Francisco Bay, was the fact that Lana said chefs on ice when all the chefs were there. And it's funny because it's almost like a double entendre. For the folks who know, especially for Top Chef alum, Chefs on Ice is one of the most, like, my back like straightened up, because that's literally what the producers and the handlers say when they want all the chefs to be quiet and listen, right? They say chefs on ice, like chefs get on ice. And it really just means like freeze, stop talking, be quiet, listen up. So when Lana said that, I thought it was a producer's like voice that made it through the edit. And I was like, what do you mean chefs on ice? So I thought that was hilarious. Double entendre for the folks who know all the Top Chef alum. I'm pretty sure they all had that same similar reaction that I did when I heard that.
Wait, so it's a way for when you're cooking, you stop, or is it when you're hanging out and you're just chilling, you're in the stew room?
Yeah, more than likely hanging out. So typically it happens in between like a location. So let's say you have your quick fire, you finished it up. Now Kristen or Padma would have given you the challenge for the elimination, and then you're going in your BMW sponsored car to Whole Foods, and you're chatting it up, you're talking. Typically, they want to save all that like really juicy detail about your dish or what you thought about the cook for the cameras, right? But then there's a transit sort of moment where you're walking to the car or walking from the restroom after the challenge is over, and you're talking with your fellow chefs, like, oh man, what you think about that? And you know what I'm thinking about doing for this dish, and like chefs on ice, like save it for the camera. So they'll say chefs on ice. So when, I don't know if Lana said that like tongue in cheek. But listen, it really like it snapped me like, when she said that, I was,
So that's really interesting. That's one of the things that as an audience, we would never have known. That's an inside behind the scenes BTS little detail there. Another thing that I was noting here as I'm watching the show, and wondered if you could kind of explain what the emotions are like when you have to prep and then do an overnight and then cook the next day. Do you sleep well that night, or are you like cool? Like, I get to do a prep and then I can sleep, get some rest, and then get back at it tomorrow. Would you prefer to just do it all at one time, or the sleep is that like, I would feel like I'd be very anxious overnight?
You know what, man? Doing it twice, there's high anxiety when you get 2 days to do an elimination challenge. When you're prepping one day, and it typically depends on how late the quick fire ends up being, right? Sometimes, and this is more insider right here, sometimes it's actually meant to just be done all in one day. Sometimes it's meant to be done in 2 days, depending on a various amount of things, like factors, whether they have the actual permit to be in the space. This time they were actually cooking in the Top Chef kitchen, so it theoretically could have happened all in the same day. But sometimes, you're doing challenges in a hotel or some venue or something like that, where you have to be permitted to have, one day to do this and the next day to do that. So you have to do it in 2 days. With this specific sort of challenge, I'd rather just do it all together. But you got to think, there's a lot of cooking, man. You're starting at like 7 o'clock in the morning. You're probably ending around 11 o'clock midnight. You got to think about Tom. Like he doesn't want to be there all night. So you gotta,
Grandpa Tom.
You gotta split things up. You know what? But I gotta say, there's high anxiety depending on how confident you're feeling. If I was Anya, I'd be thinking and tossing and turning about that dish, and ways to sort of make it better. What's really, really bad and what sucks is when you figure out like, I could have done this, but then the shop is over. You can't go back into Whole Foods, that night and go back and sort of pick up another ingredient or something like that to sort of enhance your dish. So it can really, but if you had a great prep, you're not sleeping well because this is Top Chef, right? Let's be honest, but you're at least going to bed a little bit more at ease, than everyone else. So I gotta say with Anya's dish, like, she did double prep, and just watching that, it was, and I knew she was up for a really, really tall challenge, because you made ice cream twice. You froze it, and then you sort
Melted
of
it down,
melted it down, and then refroze it again. Which you talk about, like the technical part of that. There's ice crystals that form in ice cream, right? So the faster you freeze something, the smoother it becomes, right? When it comes to ice cream, when you freeze it and then melt it and then freeze it again, you're sort of like, oh, man, it sort of like messes with the chemistry of the ice cream itself. And it becomes, sometimes it works depending on how much fat you have, but it really just seemed like it was a lot more cream than anything else. So it probably hardened the ice crystals, and the cream itself hardened too much to the point that it actually maybe worsened, or maybe like really like, I guess, made her dish to a detriment, right? She probably just would have went with the first sort of version of that dish, and saved her a bunch of time the second night or the second day, and then actually just cook the cake, maybe do that over again or whatever. So time management, again, I say all that just to say time management really just got her, it seems like.
She had a good presence at judges' table. She owned it. She understood it. She explained it. Massimo took it a little different. He was like, look, guys, I don't really do liquid nitrogen. That's hard to do ice cream with liquid nitrogen. And they were both like, no, actually, it's super easy. You just like, that's not that. Stop talking, Massimo, sometimes. I'm like, you're digging yourself deeper by the more you talk and admit some things, because I think the judges would probably be like Tom and Kristen were both like, dude, that's actually much easier to cook with liquid nitrogen. So he said the dish sucked. He owned it, but he went and over elaborated on it. And he had to throw in the whole sexual joke innuendo of, I don't usually have performance issues. And so he's, Massimo's a character, and I'm glad to see that he's sticking around for the pure entertainment standpoint. But I thought he could have gone home. I actually predicted that Anya, after, everything we saw, that Anya was going to get sent home. Paola, real quick. Oh, actually, any thoughts on Massimo? And look, I think Gail said it looked weird. I think it was the ganache or something looked kind of weird is the way that they described it. It kind of looked a little fecal. I don't know what you want to like. I don't know why he would do it in such a way, but it was, the whole thing was all over the place. A mess.
It was deconstructed way too much. The anglaise. I mean, dude, two things that I was told before I went on season 16 of Top Chef: don't be an asshole on camera, and don't overtalk your dish, especially if it's bad. Like if it's a bad dish, don't give the judges ammo and sort of give them reasons to sort of highlight, or don't give them things to highlight in your dish that's already pretty obvious, right? Massimo did it in a way that was funny. Like you mentioned, he brought up that sort of innuendo. So it was a good ha-ha moment. But at the end of the day, man, you're digging yourself a lot deeper. You're already at the bottom. So why even go further in the bottom by explaining all the bad things that are wrong with your dish? How your dish is described is extremely important. If you say ice cream, I'm looking for ice cream. If you say anglaise, I'm looking for an anglaise. What happened with this dish, specifically the ice cream ice cream is just a frozen, churned anglaise. You could have just said that. And that would have just warped the minds of the chefs or the judges to kind of think like, oh, okay, I see where you're going. It may have still been a bad dish. It may have still been on the bottom. But now you're sort of giving the right terminology to the dish and where it's at. So that was one. But number two, and more importantly, liquid nitrogen, bro, it's 300 and something degrees below zero. Like you could freeze it, get it done. But clearly he hadn't done it before, because he's using the KitchenAid, the stand mixer. He's pouring the liquid nitrogen in there. You almost have to torch it or get some sort of heat on the outside. And I'm not sure if you've seen this, other chefs do this with liquid nitrogen before. You got to be able to sort of melt it while it's freezing to be able to churn it. Because if you just put it in there and churned it, one, you might just mess up the machine. But two, now you're just sort of creating a frozen, dense sort of blob. You got to be able to play a little chess with this, so to speak. So he wasn't doing that. I saw that he wasn't doing that. And I knew this dish wouldn't come out the way that he wanted it to. And lastly, we've seen liquid nitrogen now in 3 episodes in a row. you know?
Hey, we're Destination Canada, you know?
Destination Canada, and it's cold as ice. So I love the fact that chefs are kind of going for it. But yeah, Massimo, man, dude, like for the entertainment value, thank you. I appreciate it because you are hilarious. But for the actual like chef to chef, I'm like, bro, just be quiet. Say less.
Less is more. Less is more sometimes.
Say less.
Yeah.
Say less.
Yeah. Say less. Tristan did a little home FaceTime with mom and his stepdad and basically was, you know, having a moment there. And every time we do these FaceTimes, I get a little nervous, but man, he came with it. They said his dry aged beef tartare with garlic tomb, shattered Benedict aioli, the kind of deviled egg filling. Brilliant strategy. He's coming on strong. He's someone that on your team, I'm jealous that he's on your squad because he's coming through. They described it as perfect. It made the flavors sing and the inventiveness, because I kind of feel like tartare is a little bit of a shortcut. It's a little bit of I feel like it's that and crudo and
the crudo. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All those things where you don't have to cook it. It feels like a shortcut and a cheat code. And at the same time, it's a very high floor. You're not going to get sent home for a tartare usually, or a crudo, or a ceviche.
Dude, I got sent home for a tartare. You're talking way too loud. What do you mean?
Yeah, that's right. Whoops.
Damn, that hit me like a freaking bullet through the chest, bro. Absolutely, you can go home for a tartare. Raising my hand. No, go ahead.
Yeah, but what? Remind me, how did you? What was it? What happened? Not to reopen an old wound.
Jeez, oh my goodness. I got to pay my therapist all over again. No, I did a jerk tartare for my elimination challenge, or for the finale challenge, and it got sent home.
Yeah, but that's an elimination. I mean, a finale like that.
It was. I'm saying
the margins are very slim there, very slim.
You know what? It is. You're right. To your point, man. And I'm just giving you grief, man. You know what though? I thought with Tristan, I thought it was actually a brilliant play of the egg because you used it twice, right? You used the deviled egg and that frozen liquid nitrogen. So there's gameplay on top of the use of the ingredient, but then the tartare typically has what in it? An egg, right? So it kind of gives you that mouthfeel and all that. So you use it in two different ways. I thought it was really, really smart and inventive. But I got to be honest, bro, I was holding my breath when I saw mom and stepdad on the camera and they're having that moment. We've seen that, bro. I think honestly, the producers have gotten really, really hip to the fact that, you know, we all sort of anticipate, you know, when we have these really heart-to-heart moments with family, or it's the first chef sort of like, you know, the vignette of the first chef in the beginning, they kind of know exactly. So they're
We're striking out on those because Corwin we had Corwin in the beginning, Kat, and I think Anya maybe too. And Anya lasted a few episodes here, but yeah, they're throwing us off here. They're throwing us off the scent. It's like we're now kind of through the looking glass on this. Is maybe we're overthinking this with all these little FaceTimes. But he did great, and Shuai doing the egg, the sweet corn semifredo with sweet potato mochi with graham cracker. And then going to the judges table and saying, I am terrible at desserts. This dude has so much confidence in a weird way by admitting that you're terrible at desserts and still presenting a really good dessert. That's some serious gangster like confidence in a way that like I'm surprised when a chef walks into the judges table and says, I'm really bad at doing this thing and then presenting a dish. Man, that's
ice in his veins, ice in the veins, baby. Nah, Shuai did it. He, you know what? When you're a savory chef and you're going into a challenge that's, you know, you maybe have to cook a dessert, or a dessert is sort of the obvious option there. You want to kind of have one or two dishes in your back pocket. I feel like Shuai used all of his repertoire in that one dish, and he did it well. I mean, it is what it is. You made it to the next round.
Yeah, and Zubair does the muffin that we already hit that. Massimo, Corwin, Anya. Lana did she had peanut butter. She did a chilled peanut soup with pickled shrimp, which wowed one of the hockey players who was like, I've never had pickled shrimp before. They were pleasantly surprised by that one. Vinny with the biscuit. The tweel, he's got a lot of Buddha low in him where he does the little tweel. They have to break the ice. They're very smart. Strawberry shortcake. I know you love this dish, so talk to me.
I absolutely love the dish. I thought it was, next to Corwin's dish, visually stunning. Gorgeous dish. The the strawberry shortcake with the ice, and I love Vinny's mind. I really do. I think I'm fanboying and maybe just having a love affair right now with Chef Vinny.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from the gimmicky sort of aspects of his gameplay, which, you know, is tongue in cheek. It comes and goes. You can take it or you can leave it, you know, leave or take it. He can cook, man. And his food is beautiful. And he's shown that time and time again. I thought the presentation was fantastic. I thought the breaking the ice was just a really, really great play and romantic as well. And it's something that the chefs or the judges really enjoy getting into. But the dish lacked that biscuit flavor. And I think if he would have brought that home a little bit more, man, it might be a different top three.
Yeah, he's coming. All right. So here's my thought on Vinny's biscuit dish, the strawberry shortcake. That would have been right up there. I'm a big fan of the Ben and Jerry's strawberry shortcake, cheesecake, strawberry cheesecake, strawberry shortcake, anything. My dad is famous in our family for eating an entire strawberry shortcake, like the entire one. He got it for his birthday. It was gone the next morning, and everyone in the family's like, yo, did you eat Dad's strawberry shortcake? And he was like, you know, he was like Winnie the Pooh, where he's got honey all over his face. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, man. You got the cake for him. It's his cake.
Yeah, it's my birthday. I can eat an entire cake if I want to. In a little
hilarious
jingle there. When I saw Vinny's dish, I was very excited. And there wasn't enough biscuit. And I understand that. He did the twirl. And while it was visually stunning and it cracked and it was a nice kind of action experience while you're eating it, didn't get enough of that biscuit flavor. But when you get biscuit to do a cold dish, there's not many ways you can go with that. So no. I get that. Cesar got licorice, chilled shrimp salad with this licorice tea and licorice cream. A little too much licorice for me, but you know, I'm not at the judges' table. It was a really nice dish. They were really into the shrimp noodles. Henry did for the grapefruit leche de tigre, cured salmon, with grapefruit and the sorbet. They were hit with a lot of spice, Eric. I don't know. I'm okay with spice, but I can understand if it was too much heat. And Kat, she did the aguachile paloma with mezcal, scallop tartare. She had a concept in her mind. She executed it very well. It was stunning, they said. Fireworks, great job. And Paula, ceviche hippie hapa with sable fish, cucumber tartare, avocado cream, and fried quinoa. Just, I can understand why that was in the bottom. It was like in between a soup, or was it a crudo ceviche? I guess in Ecuador, more soup, it's more brothy and more soupy than typically. So of those dishes, anything you want to hit about those dishes there?
I gotta say, with Paola's dish, the scale, the ratio of the actual crudo to the let's call it like an agua fresca or crazy water, if you will. It was just way off, you know. I'm pulling for her. I feel like I say this every episode now. I really want her to sort of get her rhythm and her stride. But it as beautiful as the dish was, it didn't seem like it was balanced enough. What else?
When you're doing West African cuisine and someone might not be familiar with that preparation or something that you grew up with, do you have to kind of make it more approachable, if that's a word, like to make it like, because she's like, no, this is how we prepare it, and they're like, yeah, but we don't like it that way. Do you have to kind of make it more Americanized to make the judges be okay with it? If it is true to your roots, you want to make it that way.
Yeah. It's a tough and a thin line to walk on, because you want to stay true and authentic to the dish. And, you know, I'm ignorant to the dish, so there was a moment for me like that as well, you know, when I went to Macau and I did it at a goosey, and, you know, the judges, they appreciated the flavor, but they didn't know the texture. And I'm like, no, this is it. Like, this is how it's done. So I understood, and I kind of felt, you know, I put myself in her shoes, so to speak. But it's a thin line, man. You got to be able to sort of pull out those sort of cultural dishes. And the gameplay comes really, really strong with that as well. So I say you want to try to adapt the flavor profile or the technique as much as you can to adhere to the challenge. because that's the number one thing. You want to make sure that you actually like get on to the next round and not necessarily just cook a cultural dish for the sake of cooking a cultural dish.
Yes.
Right. So there's that. But then also, there's ways that you can impart like flavor and technique that also works well with the specific challenge, and you kind of have best of both worlds. So it's a lever, you know what I mean? It's very, very temperamental. But I think when you have it right, then you're really cooking with, some really nuance, and you're cooking with gas. And yeah, I'd say it's tough though. It is tough.
Yeah. And I think the reason why she was in the bottom three, not just because of the cook, but also she didn't have much peanut butter in it, and that's where if you're in an elimination challenge, you got to have that peanut butter flavor come through, especially when it's peanut butter, where it's like, it's not a tough ingredient. Everyone's cooked with peanut butter before. And so it shouldn't be that much of a challenge to have peanut butters. You could have a peanut sauce. You could do like any sort of different direction. And so that to not breathe through, I think that was problematic. So she's safe. Massimo's safe. Anya goes home. Katiana, Corwin, and Tristan are in the top three. Katiana wins. I honestly was hats off to the production team, the edit team at Magical Elves. The fact that I was led to believe this whole time that she was on the struggle bus. She was really having a tough time with the licorice ingredient. She was reworking her dish, asking Cesar, do you have that liqueur that I could use at the end to have this flavor come through? And the whole time I'm just like cringing because I'm like, yo, not the best flavor to have as super overpowering, but she got the right amount. The broth was fantastic. When you had Hunter Lewis, who is the editor there, Food and Wine, being like the depth of flavor there was outstanding. I'm more of a hot soup guy or hot ramen. At this place down the street here in Charlotte does Menu that does like cold soba noodles and stuff. I haven't tried that out yet. I have to do it, but for her to do like a cold noodle dish with licorice on paper, I'm out. I'm out.
I gotta say that's not what I'd be picking right off the menu immediately. But it goes to show, man, you have a deft hand. You can really like cook with skill and nuance, man. You can make a really flavorful. She's a talented chef. Let's just cut straight to it. She's a really talented chef. You have one of the most hardest ingredients to work with outside of like the biscuit and the muffin. The flavor profile. I think the technical aspect of involving something that's already cooked and sort of already made is tough. But the flavor profile of something that I think universally is not necessarily the most tastiest thing to eat, it's got to be difficult. It has to be hard. It is hard. And then to win off of that as well, it shows a skill above other chefs. It shows a skill and sort of where she's at mentally as well. One, you get boosted with the confidence of winning that quick fire, and then you go in with the elimination challenge and you just freaking knock it out the park, man. Or hit it in the net with this analogy. She killed it, man. I thought it was really impressive. Her food looked beautiful, well presented. But I was with you, man. I was holding my breath, bro. I was like, oh, this is it. I'm like, oh, this is it. And she pulled it through, man. Kudos to her. All right, so that's not easy.
She helps give me 39 points total for our fantasy teams. I've got 39. You've got 26. Tristan, Zubair are still, I think. I mean, Vinny's, after the elimination challenge win in the first episode, he's been gliding through. Cesar, I think you've got a really good squad. Bailey goes home. I'm going to talk about the Last Chance Kitchen here in a little bit, but Paula, she's got to come through here for you soon. On my team, I'm very nervous about Kat. For some reason, I just think she's got time management issues, that she's really struggling. Massimo, really fun, but I'm talking too much. Less is more. Corwin came through. He finally came through with the Jamaican patty episode. Maybe that kind of gave him the inspiration to come home a little bit, and then had a really strong dish here in the elimination challenge. Any final thoughts here as we move on from we've already done hockey, we've already done poutine, already done the Jamaican patty. We've still got some really cool Canadian. We've done maple as well. They're cooking at a high level. This is a good season.
This is a great season thus far. 3 episodes in, I'm glued, sat on my couch, watching every single minute. Man, the food has been incredible. Learning about these chefs, and I think that's probably one of my favorite things, is just learning the personalities and where these chefs come from and what makes them tick. I always find that really interesting. As someone in the industry myself, I always love to hear why people like what their why is, and it's really cool to sort of dig deep and get family and get I love hearing Tatiana's sort of background and Tristan and his family as well. Like, fantastic season thus far. Can't wait for more. Michael Cera's coming up, man. That's one of the funniest guys in the world, bro. Like, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. I feel like, who is your favorite Michael Cera? My favorite Michael Cera is Arrested Development. That show I watched in college. When I was studying abroad, and we had no cable, we had no TV, so we just had like the whole series of Arrested Development that we just watched nonstop on our DVD. Maze coming in with "This Is the End." Michael Cera is also a strong,
hilarious. Absolutely, I was going to say
one of the best comedies of all time. This Is the End is unbelievable.
The house scene right before everything like caves in is one of the funniest scenes in movie history. It's hilarious. I'd say Michael Cera. In that as well. Juno was great, but I mean, super bad. Like, how can you not? How can you?
I know.
How can you not?
Mayonnaise? No. It's a may and egg. When he does that on Arrested Development, it's one of the great food clips. He's Michael Cera. Yeah, Juno's in there. So I'm excited for Michael Cera too. Eric. Thanks so much for hopping on again this week for the recap. If you haven't already known, he's opened up Elmina in DC. So next time anybody at home rolling through DC, go catch a reservation over at Elmina. Also, Ghana to the World, his new cookbook. You're doing book tours all over the place. I appreciate you taking the time out. And your Knicks, we're coming up on the playoff scene here in a few weeks. Thanks so much, Eric, and we'll do it again next week.
Can't wait, brother, man. Thank you so much for the plugs. Let's go Knicks. Let's go Elmina. Let's go Ghana to the World. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks, bro.
All right.
Yes, sir.